can't help but these, cause they know they can never touch these.
It's a car that precedes any of the true blue off-roaders in the affordable segment. Could have been a force to reckon with. But with a facelift, does the Gurkha have what it takes? Before I get to the extreme off-road bits, let me quickly tell you what's new with this facelift. If you look at the design angle, there is barely anything that's changed. You still get that iconic round headlamps, you get the integrated LED TRLs, you also get these turn indicators, and everything else is just what you had got with the last generation. This, of course, being a facelift, nothing much has changed. On the side though, you do get larger chunky wheels. The previous version was with the 16 inches, now you get 18 inches, and this, if you can see, has massive amount of space in between. So this obviously helps with when you really want to go off-road or those broken roads. There's no dearth of ground clearance either. An incredible 233 millimeters, and of course the dimensions cater to it being a serious off-roader. 35-degree approach, 37-degree departure and 28-degree ramp over angle. Yes, Force has got this part right, there's no doubting it. But there's some exaggeration when it calls it a lifestyle SUV. Because it's not. You'll need to make the most of the footstep and grab bar at the A-pillar to work your way into the high-set cabin. But the large steering wheel stares back at you, so getting into the driver's seat becomes a bit of a task for a person my size. Once inside, you will like the old school charm with a hint of modernity. The 4-wheel drive gear lever is swapped out for a rotary dial. The classic all-black vibe inside is a nice touch, but the new 9-inch screen from Nippon feels like a last-minute addition. No 360-degree camera, no useful info for off-roading, and no Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as the company claims. Instead, you're stuck downloading an app just to see your phone screen on the display. The 3-door Gurkha's backseat can be accessed via a side hinged rear door, and you need to do a little duck walk maneuver to get there. The space in the back though is roomy enough for even the tallest of folks to stretch out comfortably. Things are slightly tricky in the long wheelbase version though. You get a bench seat for the second row that seats 3, but the race suspension and a flat floorboard heavily compromises on the comfort level. There's very little to no room for the knee, which is not ideal scenario for taller passengers. Third row accesses again from the rear door and has 2 captain seats, but it's not very spacious here either. But the Gurkha isn't about features and equipment, rather about going where no one can. So Force whipped up a neat little course for us to play on. Nothing too fancy, but enough to show off the Gurkha's prowess. In the Gurkha's off-road arsenal are rear and front diff locks. Locking it though is a real bicep workout, requiring a solid tug and a firm twist of a lever at the center console. Unfortunately, I didn't get to explore this much. The independent suspension really comes into its own and overcame most of the obstacles in either too high or 4 low. The low speed idling is calibrated to allow it to climb without any throttle inputs. You'd practically have to go out of your way to get into trouble with the Gurkha. And even if you manage it, this beast still reigns supreme. Out on the road, the Gurkha impresses with its mega road presence. The Mercedes source 2.6-litre diesel engine is uprooted to give out more power and torque than before. That's an increase of 48 brake horsepower and 17 Newton meters achieved by remapping the ECU, installing new fuel injectors and improving the airflow.
Performance is clearly not the Gurkha's strongest suit, but that's not a problem because with this version, Force has actually bumped up the power and the top on both the 3-door and the 5-door version. So there's ample amount of grunt, there's ample amount of power right across the low range and the mid range because it tops out actually once you cross past the 3000 RPM mark. But do note that you don't really need to even reach that much of the rev band because once you get into the 5th gear, the engine actually smoothens out quite well. It easily sit at about 60 or 70 or even 80 kilometers per hour speed and be very comfortable with the car. Of course, it's not at par with the Thar, but it does its job really, really well.
Force says it listened to its customers and made necessary changes. Agreed, there's no better off-roader than the Gurkha at present in the market. And no, I don't think that the Thar or even the Jimny come close to what this piece can achieve. But I highly disagree with the fact that Force calls this a lifestyle SUV. It's not, and it shouldn't be one either. Forget the frills and fluff when it comes down to it, the Gurkha couldn't care less about the fancy bells and whistles. It's a proper extreme off-roader, but is it a force to reckon with? Not really. It's not there yet.